I mean, what a waste of time all this was.
Actually, it was very useful because you taught me a lot. Now, if you can keep your barber clients without chasing away my regulars, just go for it.
Really?
Yes. And if you want to go on a few courses, sweetheart, you're welcome to have the back room in the salon for your non-surgical Wotsits.
Well, sounds good to me.
Right. So are we all happy?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that.
Oh, David. Come on, let's have a toast. Right.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 285 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that thinks that based on his approach to data security and password management, Stephen deserved to die. I'm Gavin.
And I'm free, baby.
You're off ski?
I'm off ski. I had to go into work for like 2 hours this morning to finish renumbering lots that I didn't get finished. Oh.
Because people want it.
Did they?
I don't know. Festive auction talk. I should put jingle bells over that. I might do that.
Yeah. I finished up the auction. It was scheduled to begin tomorrow.
For British listeners, that's scheduled to begin tomorrow.
Oh, go fuck yourself. But because I had it all done and everything, my boss just started it on Monday.
Nice.
Monday evening. So that's really exciting. And you know me, I'm like OCD checking it like every 5 minutes to see what has new bids on it, like a crazy person.
Oh, like someone might check to see how many downloads a podcast has got. I am sure I have no idea what you're talking about.
But I had to renumber some lots because initially I had made it into 2 auctions because we had so much stuff, and we decided instead of doing, 2 auctions like running back to back, that we would do 1 auction now and 1 auction in the spring. So the 2 auctions that I had started, we combined them. So I had to renumber basically over 100 lots. So that was fun. And I got it done this morning. I just had a little bit more left to do this morning. And yeah, I'm really excited. My babies are going out into the world.
Is this the one that I did the poster for?
Yes.
Excellent. Happy to help.
Yes, and I do believe all of those things in that picture have bids on them already.
Oh, wow.
So, good job, Broom.
Well.
Good job. In fact, the Welcome Back Cotter record case has 2 bids on it already.
Oh.
And I think at least one of them, is our pal Nathan Tyree of the Bloodfest podcast.
The Bloodfest podcast.
Yes.
Check it out.
So, because I remember I posted a picture of it like a month or so ago, and he's like, I must have that.
Oh, really? Please
Post the auction when it goes live. So
very good.
So yeah, I'm just relieved that it's out there and that I can just relax over Christmas.
There you go.
Apart from the manically checking every 5 minutes.
Sure.
So how was your week?
I have been so busy.
Yeah. You've been editing a movie.
What's I feel like I'm a bit of a Thelma Schoonmaker this week. Stella had a project for English where she didn't have to do this, but she chose to do this.
Yeah,
to do
she and her group.
A movie or a video of the Scarlet Letter.
Yes.
So she spent 6 hours on Saturday, another 6 hours on Sunday.
Felt longer than that, didn't it?
A couple of hours on Monday
Monday.
night doing the filming for it.
Right.
So 12 hours of filming.
14.
Four,
Because the 2 hours
yes,
on Monday.
sorry. 14 hours of filming that produced approximately 10 minutes of footage. And then I spent 2 hours on Monday, 3 hours on Tuesday, and about 5 hours last night editing it all for her.
Last night was Tuesday. It's Wednesday
Well,
today.
I done it 3 nights, didn't I?
No. Well, I think maybe you did a little bit on Sunday.
Oh, I did Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That's
Right,
right. That's, This is
Everything's-
this week is all kind of
Everything's upside
merging
down.
into each other. So I'm trying not to do too much that's anything that's like fancy because it needs to look like.
Right.
She's
And
done
she
it.
was in the room.
And she's been in the room and she's
helping.
been making decisions and
Right.
where to cut things and all that sort of thing.
Right.
So she has been an active participant in it. However, my contribution was, wouldn't this look nice in black and white? And everyone agreed. Because she checked with
her
her
group,
classmates. that,
right.
yes, black and white is the way to go.
You got like
So-
a sepia tone going there.
Yeah, kind of noir sort of look to it. So it's looking great.
Mm-hmm.
And we edited it to the point where it was too late to go back to colour because some of the footage had since been deleted.
Right.
So we couldn't go back to colour, which was a mistake. But then we realised the name of this thing
Is a scarlet letter.
is a scarlet letter. So there's a big moment where, I can't remember the character's name,
Dimsdale.
Dimsdale reveals the scarlet letter, the scarlet A,
Right. That he's carved into his chest.
that in black and white is just going to look grey. So I thought there must be a way to do this in After Effects. So I fired up After Effects. You kind of colour key the colour that you want to retain, and it, essentially the process black and white's everything else. So there's this moment when there's this 10-minute black and white film. In the last 30 seconds, when the shirt is pulled open, there's a colour suddenly emerges and it's scarlet. I'm so pleased with it.
I hope you get a good grade.
I hope I get an A. So yes, that was fun. I love doing stuff like that, but it's
Yeah. And
it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work to do a 11-minute short film.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we spent combined probably like 24 hours worth of effort on it.
Right. Yeah. It was basically our whole weekend. We missed Wonka for this.
We did. So that's been my week. I am looking forward to. I finish up tomorrow morning as well, so I'm looking forward to essentially nearly 2 weeks off work.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
It's nice.
All right, shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
I said this last week because I didn't know if we were going to be doing this tonight, but again, let's have some of that festive Corrie news.
Simon Gregson will be going from ITV to BBC this week
What?
as he appears on House of Games, hosted by Richard Osman.
Excellent. I love the House of Games.
Yeah. You love Richard Osman.
Yeah, I've even read his books. Well, I've read one of his books.
Right.
The Thursday Murder Club or something.
You didn't like it.
I thought it was a bit verbose.
Ah,
A little bit longer than it needed to be, I felt.
right. It's like when I didn't like that Stephen Fry book as much as I
Yeah.
thought I was going to.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I was looking forward to reading other ones. I haven't got around to it yet, though, but
No.
yeah, it's funny in places.
Have you read a book this year?
When did that Emily St. John Mandel come out?
Last year.
Oh, well, in that case, no.
Hasn't she changed her name now that she's divorced?
Is she divorced?
Believe so. Should I be worried?
You know more about it than me.
Back when I was on the Twitter, I used to follow her on the Twitter.
I follow her on Twitter, on my personal account.
Uh-huh.
She's Canadian, right enough. Anyway.
Cut it out. Mo Moreland, who appeared in Corrie as well as in the dance troupe, the Roly Polies,
The roly-polies?
died this week.
Oh, no! A dead roly-poly?
She was 82. And she was the
She was
rolliest.
only 82?
She was the rolliest of the Polies. She was only 82.
I remember them from, like, was it Les Dawson's show in the 1980s?
Yes, it was the Les Dawson show. Well remembered.
They were funny.
Yeah.
But they always looked like they were in their 80s. They looked like they were in their 80s in the 80s. Wow, so she must have been in her 40s then.
Something like that.
Oh, that's a tough paper run. Oh, may she rest in peace. I used to love the roly-polies, man. Everyone loved the roly-polies. They were hilarious.
Should I be upset about something that feels fat phobic, but then is also a lot
It's
about
not. It celebrates it.
body positivity because they're a dance troupe
It celebrated
and
it.
they're hilarious?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the 80s, it celebrated it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's my memory of it anyway.
Right. Yeah. Fuck you, grapefruit and cottage cheese.
Indeed.
That's what Weight Watchers wanted everybody. I remember my mother and I having half a slice of grapefruit with no sugar, or maybe with sweet and low and equal, and having that for breakfast. And then in the afternoon, popping in the Richard Simmons Dancing to the Oldies tape and doing Dancing to the Oldies for our exercise.
Good times.
Good times. The 1980s. We also had a Thigh Master. Did your mom have a Thigh Master?
Just my dad.
And finally, congrats to Ellie Leach, who
Oh.
has won the British version of Dancing with the Stars, aka Strictly Come Dancing.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to get it wrong.
She is officially the youngest person to ever win.
Is she really?
Yeah,
She's in her early 20s, I think, isn't
she's
she?
22.
Incredible.
Yeah,
And
and she was brilliant, and
you
she
know,
looked happy.
they made... Right. There's part of me that wishes that she was partnered up with Tinker, but just for the lols.
Can you imagine Tinker on Strictly?
No. They made a big deal of the journey that she's been on, because
Right.
she was like quite nervous and unsure of herself and lacked a bit of confidence at the start, and then at the end she was, no one could accuse her of that. I watched the final and I watched the first few episodes. I kind of lost it in the middle, but there was a few routines that she was doing where it was just incredible, and she was moving the judges to tears
Right,
because she was that good.
right.
And she really is that good.
Yeah.
I mean, credit to our partner, who was,
Vito?
who was, he's choreographing all this, and he's doing
Right.
a remarkable job in teaching her how to dance.
As well as his side job with the mob.
Right. But, I mean, those are two difficult things to juggle, right?
Yes.
And he did a remarkable job. But all credit to her. She was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And a well-deserved winner. I saw the numbers for the vote tolls, and she absolutely crushed it.
Yeah.
It was like, there was no contest, pretty much.
Yeah. So congratulations to her.
Congrats to her.
So
yeah.
pleased. And that's Corrie News.
And that's Corrie News. And Helen, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's almost like this is planned, but you lead us so neatly into our feedback section, which I like to call Everyone's a Critic.
Gotta fuel up the rocket ship so we can make our journey to Mars for Christmas.
Why do you hate me?
I love you. This is a compliment. I love that music.
It's not meant to sound Christmassy.
Well, it does. It sounds like Christmas on Mars.
gonna have
And
to
that's
do-
brilliant. I love it.
My homework for the Christmas break is to come up with new.
Oh, fuck you. Don't take away my Christmas on Mars.
Anyway, feedback is always welcome at the Talk of the Street. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, or DMs are open at Corrie Podcast.
Did we-
We're a bit early in the week to get any correspondence to read out.
Oh.
And now we'll podcast for coffee.
Has anybody sent us Christmas coffees?
No,
Oh,
there's not much to say really in any of the things I've got to talk about this week on our preamble. other than to say and remind people that the Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. And you can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. But remember, remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. And now this.
Welcome.
Oh, welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about nothing.
That's right. Nothing.
We didn't do an episode this time last year.
Because we were driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, last year we were on the road. We were in spooky Pennsylvania.
We were already on the road. I don't know that we've mentioned that we're recording this on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Because we will be on the road on Friday. So
Yes.
we will not be
Doing a
watching
podcast
Coronation
on
Street
Friday.
on Friday or doing the podcast. So we're recording this a little bit
Maybe
early.
I'll watch it.
Saves us having to do like 19 episodes next week or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why this has dropped a little early. But yeah,
Yes.
nothing to talk about in that either. It's almost as if we'd have been better just waiting until we got back.
Yeah. Yeah. Who'd have thunk? We could have done this like Tuesday.
Oh no.
And would have been Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday.
But then there's Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday next week.
Yeah.
Ah, no. That's it. I'm comfortable with this. This is a decent decision. It's maybe not a great decision, but it's decent.
Sure. Go
Anyway.
with that.
We will take a quick break, and we will be right back with this week's recap, where things actually did happen.
Ooh.
And we're back.
Thank you, sponsors.
How was your quick break?
It was great. Imagine if we did have sponsors. Imagine if you hadn't turned down
I
the
don't want
manscaping money.
Manscaped.
You manscape anyway. Don't lie.
That's not why I didn't take it.
You just don't want to talk about manscaping.
I don't want to read out their copy. And I don't know if our listeners are in that demographic.
I'm sure there are plenty of gay men listening
Apart
to
from the
us
gay
right
men.
now. Yeah, which is most of our audience because it's most of Corey's audience.
I don't know. I think it's mostly a female audience that we've got.
Are you forgetting about
I'm not forgetting about,
our favorite secret American?
but I'm looking at most of our friends of the podcast. Good evening,
Yeah.
ladies.
Oh, and then there's what's his name, whose wife hates me. And he's got a wife, so he's obviously not gay. Who am I thinking of? And she doesn't hate me. This is a joke. I don't want her to be offended.
I'm not sure I want to refer to any of our listeners as what's his name.
It's Christmas. My brain is like
It's been a long week.
pancakes.
All right, shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
The first storyline tonight is Tub Hotties.
Ooh la la!
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I was a male stripper in the go-go bar. Remember that?
There you go. That's for our gay audience.
On Monday, Peter's got a letter that he doesn't want Carla to know about, so he hides it. It's from Weddy General. What could that be about, Helen? He's made a fancy breakfast for Carla, but she only has time for coffee, and then she fucks off to work. Then he tries to get Simon on board, but he's in a hurry to meet some mates.
Right, yes. And also doesn't want to eat with Ryan
Right.
because he fucked Ryan over.
So a bearded Tim meets Peter in the community garden. A bird has just shat in Peter's coffee, and that actually happened.
What do you mean that actually? Oh, yeah.
It happened in the show. I'm not making that up.
Right, yes, because for some reason, Tim and Peter are both anti-lid.
It's plastic, y'all.
Yeah, but it keeps birds from shitting in your coffee.
It does. Just his luck. Tim wants to know what's on Peter's mind and reminds him it's good to talk. Peter doesn't want to talk about Stephen or anything else, so Tim suggests he should take up a distracting activity if he doesn't want to talk, like he did with fishing, that he did that one time, and he offers up Sally's hot tub.
Woohoo!
So it's tattooed Tub Hotties in the back garden at
I
number
was
8.
so distracted by
The duck.
Tim's shoulder. I
His
couldn't.
massive eagle tattoo.
Is it an eagle?
I think so.
It's got feathers.
That's an eagle.
Well, there are other things that have feathers as well. It could
Like a
be
budgie. Could be a budgie.
or a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Ah.
You know? So, because remember, let's all remember that time that Tim and Steve wrapped themselves in packaging tape and pretended to be Tyrannosaurus Rexes.
How can we ever forget that when
How-
you remind us every week?
Because it was such a delight. It was like but one of my favorite scenes from the show ever. But I was also distracted by Peter's tattoos because he's got that thing that kind of looks like a bush.
That's a swallow.
No, it's green and purple and looks like a bush, like a triangular bush.
Like a pubic bush?
And then it looks like a swallow, but it's got a female head. What's up with that? It's like a harpy, but pretty.
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I was watching Peter and his duck.
Oh yeah, he was holding the duck. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't have a duck tattoo,
No.
which
No,
is a
he-
shame.
More people should have duck tattoos.
Peter should get a duck tattoo. That reminds me, I need to call my tattoo artist.
They've gradually become more and more tattooed as time has gone on,
Yes,
as have us all.
yes.
But yeah, it was funny seeing the two of them in what clearly was a attempt at homoeroticism, wasn't it?
No,
No, just me then.
not even close.
Peter says that he feels like a boiled egg. So after fucking, they talk about their shared experiences with Stephen. Tim thinks that he has to face it down, but Peter doesn't know where to start. Here, says Tim, and then he wanks Peter off a wee bit. Peter thinks...
Don't do that when I'm drinking.
That's what Peter says. Peter thinks that everything is too close to home. Tim explains how Sally has been his rock, but Peter isn't sure he can say the same of Carla at the moment. Every waking minute, her mind is on the factory, which she can appreciate, but it leaves him feeling very lonely. Tim blames Stephen for all of this, but even if that's true, says Peter, it doesn't help. So back home, Peter is looking at his letter again until Carla comes home. She has a date night special and suggests a movie, and Peter's mood is lifted briefly until Carla gets a call, and, oh, wouldn't you know it, it's work. The factory alarm has gone off, and she has to leave. All pig's tits, says Peter.
We never find out why the factory alarm has gone off.
No.
Which is weird.
Later, Peter is talking with Simon. It seems his opportunity to leave for the Mediterranean has sailed away. Peter doesn't regret it though. He says his life is here, but he really should tell his face that. And then he kind of paraphrases the final chapter of the Scottish Book of the Dead.
So he's read it. That's good.
On Wednesday, Carla is focused on another very important meeting and asks to meet Peter at the Bistro for lunch, but Peter says that he already has plans with Ken. Peter is obviously very distant with Carla at this point. Later, Peter is dusting in a fancy shirt. When Carla comes home unexpectedly, she wonders what he's hiding, and he explains that he's in contact with his support nurse. That must be what the way the general letter was all about.
Yes.
Looking to meet his donor's family, thinking that this might help him with his recent struggles and reinforce his sobriety. This has led to a meeting this afternoon that Peter has, not lunch with Ken after all. Carla says that she wants to be there and promises to be back in an hour. And I'm thinking, she's not going to come back in an hour, and this is going to further disillusion Peter. But she is there.
Yes.
She's back in time for it, as there's a buzz at the door, and it's the donor's family. It's a woman called Val. And they just stand there looking at each other, and I'm thinking, seems like it's kind of awkward, but then they start to cry, and she asks if she can hug Peter.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, I'm suddenly crying.
Yes.
That was so emotional.
It really was.
And so unexpected.
Yeah.
But
it was great.
But completely believable that she's looking at someone who has been saved by, I presume, her son. And there's part of her son that's living in this man that's on the other side of the door, which is just must have been an incredible moment. Later, Val explains that her Jimmy was in a car accident and he was only 32 years old, and this sets Peter off again. He feels like he's a fraud and explains that he's an alcoholic and people don't think that he deserves a second chance. And it cuts to Val and it looks like she's unsure or she's a little shocked by this information. But then she says, look, it's a disease, and if people don't get it, then they're ignorant. And she is 100% Team Peter here.
Yeah.
And this sets Peter off again. And then it sets Nick off as well.
No, Nick gets set off all on his own later on.
Val tells Peter not to waste his life. So she's gone, and Peter seems to have felt the benefit of it. Carla is so impressed and proud of Peter. Then he remembers the plans that they'd made when they were together, when they thought that he was getting a new liver, and that one fell through.
Right. The floor.
Yep. Because Ruby's blood test didn't check out.
And Hope cut a hole in the ceiling
Right.
of the floor below.
Peter reminds her that they never did any of those things. It's not too late, she says. Sure, he says.
Yeah. We can go walking in the Dales,
Right.
ignoring all the other stuff.
Then Carla remembers that Peter got a postcard from Mallorca, and it's his mate, Mickey. And in the message it says that there's still room on the boat.
Right.
And that's
yeah.
as far as we get with that
There
on
was
Monday
a
and
change of
Wednesday.
plans of where he was going.
He's going around the world now.
Now, is this postcard of the week? Because we do get another postcard later on, which is postcard of the week.
Which one was boring postcard of the week?
I feel like they were both momentous.
Mickey writes on a ruler.
He does. Yes, and he sticks it in his printer and prints it right off the internet. He writes his postcards in Word and then prints it on his brother printer. So
No, I thought he had his postcard, but it has a ruler, and he writes against the ruler to get a nice straight line.
well, yes, there was nice straight lines, but it was also very, very tidy handwriting and very even handwriting, and the ink was very even all the way through. You're not getting that even from the most expensive of pens.
Can I be very, very pedantic for a moment?
Sure. Why not? You never are.
I don't believe that was a Spanish postmark. It didn't look to me like a Spanish postmark.
How many
because-
Spanish postmarks have you seen?
A lot, because I'm sure that they're hexagonal. And I also don't think they say España on it. I think they say the town that they were posted in. And I don't think that their date format is
The same as British?
DDMMYY. I think they spell the month. But I'm pretty sure from the postcards that I've got, I was sure they were hexagonal.
They look pretty circular to me.
Oh, really?
But you're right. They don't say... Well, no, this one says España.
Or does it? Oh, well, maybe it is then. And I thought, well, that makes sense if it isn't, because to get an authentic Spanish postcard, you'd have to send someone to Spain and send a postcard.
Or maybe, somebody knows somebody in Spain.
Right, but either way, it seems like too much effort for such a little return. But anyway, that was my pedantic cunt of the week. So that's as far as we get with that storyline.
That was very moving.
It was.
The whole Val stuff.
It was so unexpected because I didn't really know what the purpose of that scene was going to be.
Right.
I didn't expect it to be as emotional as that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't expect it to affect me as much as it did, because it really did. It was exceptionally well done. Just those moments where they were standing in silence staring at each other.
Right. And then
And
she
you think,
says...
oh, this is awkward. But it's not awkward. It's just...
And then she says, "Can I hug you?"
Yeah.
And it's just
I was like, oh
so
my God.
powerful.
Absolutely.
Right, because it's not his heart. So it's not like she's hugging him to listen to a piece of her son, but
Right.
like her hand is around a piece of her son. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty moving.
Yeah. Very good in this. And the scene after it with the two of them sitting talking and her acceptance of the fact that he's an alcoholic, because she has no say, obviously, in who gets this liver.
Right, yeah.
It's whoever needs it. She's probably thinking that it's going to be somebody that's abused their liver in some way. I guess.
Or
I guess
someone-
liver transplants happen for other reasons, but
They do.
But your mind just jumps to alcohol abuse, kinda. But her acceptance of that was very refreshing, and I really liked how Carla was seemingly
there.
well, she was there, but she was also kind of relieved and pleased to hear that this was what her opinion was.
Yeah.
That these people are ignorant. It's a disease. It's not a
Right.
choice, and and they need to wisen up, sort of thing.
Go
So,
fuck themselves.
pretty much. So yeah, the whole scene with this Val was really, really effective, really good. And it just makes me sad that this is how we're coming at the end of the Peter and Carla story, and the Peter story for now.
Yeah, a pause in the Peter
a
and
pause
Carla
which
story.
feels like it was more pitched as a pause in the early days of the news being leaked or released, and feels kind of now that it might be a bit more permanent than that.
I don't think so.
And everything that I've read, it feels more like as anyone can be assured of anything, a permanent departure. But
Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
yeah,
So
and
I'm
I
going to-
remember when you used to hate the Peter character.
Yeah, I like him with Carla though, and actually he's kind of grown. I hated him before he got together with Carla.
Mm-hmm.
I hated the whole thing briefly with him and Abby, where I was like, he's too old for her, and then of course then they put her with Kev, which
Just to piss you off even more.
just to piss me off. That's the only reason why anybody on Coronation Street does anything, just to piss me off.
So it seems.
Yes. I think he reminds me of my dad too much.
They put them together, and then they kind of lost track on what they were together.
Right. And then, they put Carla through all these manic episodes and everything, and it kind of made the relationship uneven to me, because then Peter
Yeah.
was white knighting all the time, and
He was white knighting or becoming her carer or something
right,
like that.
and that kind of diminishes what it feels like Carla is to the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just remember how much I really enjoyed that that New Year's episode when they were in that old billiard hall
Right.
the whole way through.
Yeah.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, and we have that to look forward to in the coming days, where the word on the street is that there's a two-hander episode coming up with the two of them.
But not like that.
As well, not if Tim has anything to say about it, where they discuss the relationship in a bit more detail and whatnot, and hopefully do that justice, because I think for a couple and a set of characters together, I think they deserve it. It was a long time coming for the two of them,
Yes.
and there were so many ups and downs and bits that we've approved of and bits that maybe less so, but
Yes.
over and above anything else, it's like there was nothing like a strong Carla with a strong Peter.
Yeah.
But they kind of just ran out of ideas, particularly for him.
Yeah.
What's he not done in his decades on the show?
Right.
Then you become a character like Kirk that's just there to have a yo-yo at Christmas and throw in a few stupid lines, and that was never Peter's character.
No. I felt like it. I don't know. I kind of feel like they could have done a lot more with him, and it felt like they've been kind of trying to do this, where he's adjusting his relationship to his son, and now that his son is grown up and everything, and it's like one of those relationships that we really don't get to see very often, as opposed to all the other kids with their dads and stuff. If Simon and Peter were given as much airtime as Max and David have had over this past year, I kind of feel like that would have benefited both of those characters
Yeah, I mean,
an awful lot.
It kind of looked like they were going down a direction of Simon's going to develop a drinking problem, and while I don't really want to see that,
No.
there is part of that sounds kind of interesting. How does the alcoholic deal with his son
Becoming an
becoming
alcoholic.
an alcoholic?
Yeah.
It's like there's something a little in that maybe was worth exploring.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like something I would complain about,
Right.
but
Or just like kind of the aimlessness of Simon and how he feels like he's not good at anything, and he feels like kind of a loser, and he seems to really not have he doesn't seem really involved with any of the other young people
It comes across
on the street.
Yeah, it comes across in everything that he talks about. He had a job that he lost that nobody knew about.
Right.
He was living in a flat that nobody knew about.
Right.
And he's
got
living
these
with
mates
people
that
that
are
nobody
invisible.
knows.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's like the show just doesn't know what to give him.
It has no
anything
idea.
no idea what to do with him. And it's all vague and stuff. So if they'd given him and Peter more time to kind of figure out who Simon is and guide him in that would have been kind of nice. Or maybe Simon goes on the boat too. Maybe Simon leaves as well.
that was always the plan, that
he might
Simon
as-
would go along.
He might as well, because we barely see him except when it's convenient to the show. Like the whole stupid Daniel and Ryan thing, like he was this foil for that. And then it's kind of like,
Yeah, he changed his tune in the same episode.
right.
Just so
Yeah.
bizarre.
And that it ends with him shaking hands with Ryan.
The last time I think the two of them had a decent set of episodes was, remember that time that Peter started drinking again and Simon was just challenging him with a bottle of whiskey. Mm-hmm. And that was finally Peter's kind of wake-up call. Mm-hmm. I don't remember anything since then that's really
No.
caught my eye.
Well, there was the shouting in the balcony of the court.
Yeah,
When
Peter
you-
wasn't involved in that though.
No, that's true.
Oh well, let's
Oh,
move
well.
on. Our next storyline is Ryan's big low-key departure. What the fuck was this all about? On Monday,
He's going to Glasgow.
Crystal's in Nina's Rolls where she bumps into Debbie and Ronnie. They're surprised to see her and she announces that she and Ryan are off to Glasgow tomorrow.
Yay.
So the subtitles tell me.
Yes, to get the best ramen in the world.
Yep. Debbie goes to see Ryan for some answers. What the fuck is this about Glasgow? She doesn't think running away solves anything. Ryan says he isn't running away. The Daisy's ship has sailed and he has a future with Crystal. He is leaving no matter what anybody thinks. And this seems to melt Debbie a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's further melted when she sees Ronnie in the bistro later. He's convinced her not to interfere in Ryan's life anymore. Then Daniel and Ryan run into each other. And Daniel's a big man in public where he can be sure nothing's going to happen as he shoulder barges past Ryan. And Ronnie's quick to break this up, saying that
Right.
he doesn't want Ryan to humiliate Daniel
Again.
for a third time.
Yes.
Well done.
Oh my God.
So,
I'm so glad that so far this week there's been minimum Daniel.
yes. So Ryan joins Debbie and Ronnie. Ronnie thinks Ryan is doing the right thing moving away, and Debbie agrees. She still thinks it's a mistake, but reckons that Ryan deserves a bit of happiness, even if that isn't going to come from Crystal. And then on
Or
Wednesday,
Glasgow.
at the flat, Peter is reminiscing about some bars in Glasgow. I loved this. He mentioned the
Right.
Horseshoe Bar.
Yeah.
And I think he got his stats right about the length of it. The longest bar in the UK. He wants Peter and Simon to make up before Ryan leaves, so they share a handshake, but it's clear that Simon's heart isn't in it. Peter is taking a pragmatic approach to the Daisy Daniel thing. He says something about people
Right.
in glass houses throwing stones, etc.
Right, yes,
Which is the
which-
proper stance to take this
Right.
matter, I
Yes,
think.
especially on the street.
Right. So it's time for Ryan to leave, and it's so incredibly low key. There's just Carla and Debbie there to say cheerio. He hops into Peter's cab and off he fucks, due to meet Crystal at the airport. They're flying to Glasgow from Manchester. I didn't even know you could do that.
Why not?
Daisy steps out of Dev's just in time to see Ryan's arse head round the corner for the last time. Is that it? Because that's as far as we get with that so far this week.
At least he gets a taxi.
Not a black taxi though. It's just
It's
Peter's
Peter.
blue streetcar's cab.
Which is fine.
I don't know. This felt so not emotional.
I don't know. I felt really emotional because Carla and Debbie are very emotional, and the way they're kind of like arm in arm, kind of sobbing, watching him drive away. I thought that was very sweet because there was a time that Carla and Debbie were not quite so fond of one another, but they seem to have bonded over this protective feeling for Ryan.
I see quite a lot of disappointing comments about Debbie. Debbie seems to be a bit of a polarising character. I love her.
I do too. What's not to love?
But the one thing that I think I love about her the most is the way that this relationship with her and Ryan has developed since the worst heist idea
Ever.
since the last heist idea.
Right.
And it's good that the show has remembered this,
Yes.
because it doesn't always.
No.
And the way that she's been so motherly to him and turned up at the hospital to see him and turned up
Right.
to see him during his recovery, and
Very much the auntie.
yeah, and it's lovely to see that relationship has, while it's been born out of something that was maybe
Ridiculous.
ill-judged, yeah, that it remains so strong, and yeah, I don't know, I just wanted a little bit more for him. Now, do you think that is him gone?
I don't know. Because the show hasn't really made a big deal about his leaving
Well, this is exactly what I'm saying.
either. You know, typically when somebody is gone, forever and ever, amen.
Where's the little...
They filmed that little, well, it's been fun. Thank you so much. Ta!
Yep,
Because even Steven got one of those.
deservedly so.
I remember Seb's. Made me cry.
I was shocked with Seb's because I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
they
like,
kept that
holy
very
shit,
low key.
They killed Seb
Yeah.
just when I was starting to like him.
Right, because he was so great with Nina.
Yeah. But yeah, this felt just the end of a boring old D storyline that nobody really cared about, and that's it. If he is out, I can understand why.
Right,
There's
because of the cost of the makeup.
The prosthetic thing would get on anybody's tits after a while. But again, this seems like a character that's been a little aimless. He's had some good storylines,
Yes.
especially the acid attack storyline, but always there's the thought, where do you go after a big storyline like that?
Right, yeah.
And we've seen, Nina had her big few months where
Right.
there was the Seb stuff going on and,
Right.
and all of that. And then she's not really had very much to do since then, apart from falling into a canal, which was hilarious. Let's never forget that.
Right. And then the whole Asha thing.
And the whole Asha thing, but the whole Asha thing doesn't feel
Right,
huge
because
stakes, does
yeah,
it?
well, because we just kind of saw them in the background of other people's stories for the longest time, and now all of a sudden we've decided that they need to break up or something, or what's
Right.
going to... And even that, it's been 2 weeks since we've seen that storyline bubble up again.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like a very slow burn.
Yeah. So after the acid stuff, I can understand why maybe that's it for this character, because
Yeah.
there's not an awful lot else going on with Ryan. He's a bit of a nice guy, and
He feels a bit too big for Weatherfield.
you
Like-
think?
Like he needs to get out of this area in order to...
Well, yeah. He continually talks about it. He's always going off to Ibiza, or plans to go off to
Right,
Ibiza.
yeah.
His entire time that he's been on the show, or the
Right.
entire time he's been in Weatherfield recently,
and do you know
he's been
what?
planning his escape.
Glasgow, just as good. Not as warm, but,
Just as rainy.
lots of culture, lots of statues with cones on their heads. And again,
If
the
you're into
best
that sort of thing.
ramen in the world.
All right.
Sorry, Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and sorry, Ryan, I think you deserved maybe not a huge fanfare, but a little bit more than that.
Yeah, because, it's one thing for shows that kind of have, like Star Trek, for example, that kind of have prosthetics kind of built into the budget from day one, and where you know what you're getting into, and they have these people who are hired specially to do prosthetics who are very good at it, but also have to do multiple people, as opposed to a soap opera, which does not have the budget of a Star Trek television show.
I doubt it's that expensive. I think it's more a time thing, and the actor
Well-
can't be bothered going through this every
Right. Well, and that's part of the cost. Part of the cost is the actor having to come in earlier than everybody else to get it put on, hiring somebody who specializes in prosthetic makeup, and then the continual cost of having to buy the product to make the prosthetics, over and over and over again. It adds up.
I don't know. I just think it's a colossal pain in the tits, and that's enough for me to think that it's not sustainable. But
Right.
anyway,
Either way, it's not sustainable.
moving on. Our next storyline is Platts Assemble. On Monday, ahead of the family cleared the air summit at the Bistro, Lolly thinks they should all do a nice box. And I thought, is she saying an ice box? No, it's a nice box.
A nice box.
Yes. No one knows what that is, so she has to explain. David predictably hates the idea.
Right.
But Gail loves it, so goes off to grab a box. How very fucking hell, says David. At the Bistro, the Platts, who could give a fuck, have turned up for Gail's summit and Lily's nice box. It's Sarah, Nick in suspenders, Lily, David, Sam, Shona, Gail, Max, and Audrey, who isn't there yet.
Right. Yeah. And Sarah apologizes that Harry's not there. And it's like,
Because he's at soft play.
I don't think Harry would be able to contribute much to this
Right.
summit.
But,
I think it's fine.
But apologies from Harry anyway.
Right, yes. Because he's at a friend's house for Christmas party thing.
Is that Simon? Who knows? Gail wants them to focus on the things that they love about each other. Sarah and David are already at each other's throats, which is what Gail wants to avoid. She dishes out cards for people to write compliments. So Audrey arrives and is tasked with reading out the cards. Someone likes Shona's hair. Someone thinks Sarah is a princess. Nick has good posture thanks to the rod that's stuffed up his jacksie. David is accused of writing the Nick one, but he wrote the Sarah one, and Sam is disgusted at the bickering and the bad intentions. Later on, more slips are written, but it's all the same sniping, with someone who seems to think that Sarah lifts tail at the drop of a hat.
Oi!
Nick and David drift away, but Sam can't hold his tongue any longer. He accuses them of poo-pooing Lily's great idea, which allowed the kids to contribute, and says that they're behaving like children and that it's making Audrey unhappy. He calls them selfish and says he's disappointed in all of them. Yeah. Oh, fuck off, says everyone.
And, well, except for Nick, who begins to cry.
Yes, poor Nick.
Oh, God, you can see him just welling up with shame, but also pride.
Or embarrassment.
A little bit of all of them.
Sam suggests that people just say things out loud, and Sam and Lily will start. Sam thinks that everyone helped him get over his mum's death. Everyone is able to say nice things until it gets to David, who isn't into compliments but says something nice to Sarah. Audrey can't find the words, and so she leaves, and everyone just watches her go.
She's like, I'm sorry, I just can't do this.
What a fucking family. She's 80 years old. She's clearly upset. They just let her walk out. Somebody says, should we go after her? And Gail says, nah. Just leave her.
Yeah, when she wants to go, she goes.
So everyone gets home to number 8 and pretend to worry about where Audrey is, and then she promptly walks through the door. She feels better after today's activities and thinks that fighting and making up is something that the family does best. And to that end, she announces she will be interviewing David and Maria tomorrow for the manager job at the salon.
Dum dum dum.
So on Wednesday, that seems to be the Platts fixed now. So we
For the
pivot.
time being.
So we pivot onto this manager job. And where are they going to do the interviews? At the salon? No. The Bistro.
There's no place to sit down at a table at the salon.
They're through the back.
It's toty.
It's interview day for the salon manager job, and of course, David and Maria are bickering about who should get it. Audrey interviews Maria first, asking why she thinks she's qualified for the job, which is a funny thing to ask someone you've worked with for so many years, which is
Right.
pretty much what Maria says. Audrey's worried about the conflict with the council work, but Maria thinks it benefits the salon as it puts her in the centre of the community. Audrey's impressed, and Maria mentions doing some fancy new things like micro-threading and
Yes.
some
And
non-surgical...
right, yeah, and facials and things like that.
Yeah, and Audrey becomes less impressed by
Right.
that.
Maria also, mentions the fact that Audrey used to be in politics as well.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Actually,
Well remembered.
yes. So then Audrey is interviewing David, who plays the blood is thicker than water card. Audrey wants to know his vision for the salon, which makes David shut himself. He doesn't really have an idea one way or the other.
Right.
Other than to accommodate for the barber clientele, and he thinks the salon needs a makeover. It's already had a makeover, says Audrey.
Right.
It needs another makeover, says David.
Right. Yeah. Just, and I mean, I can kind of see his point. I mean, obviously there's no room to put a motorcycle in there.
Right.
And we've already gotten rid of Vin Weasel. But, you know, it wouldn't hurt to like maybe change the curtains to something less frilly.
Gail turns up at the bistro worried about Christmas lunch, so Nick suggests that he takes care of it again so that's the bistro getting used for Christmas.
Yay!
Gail goes to speak to Audrey, who doesn't think either David or Maria are qualified, and she's starting to think that she might be the best choice. So later she calls David and Maria over and tells them that she's decided to hire Audrey to be the manager of the salon.
Right.
She'll manage it and leave them to cut the hair. So long, suckers. What a waste of fucking time that was. But she'll let David accommodate the barber customers, and she allows Maria to do micro-threading or whatever the fuck that was. Huzzah!
Right. It's your eyebrows.
I know what it is.
Okay, well...
She doesn't, and that was a
right.
joke.
Okay. Well, you thought JoJo Siwa was a drag queen, so... Sometimes I feel like I have to explain things
Prove
to
to
you.
me that she's not. Huzzah. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Lesbians and drag queens are two different things.
If only there was an easy way to remember.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Platts Assemble moment in the bistro? I'm guessing that you loved it.
Well, I was kind of disappointed because last week it felt like it was building to something a little bit more exciting.
It was a bit, wasn't it?
Then Gail forcing everybody to be nice to each other again, because we've had this before.
Once or twice.
Yeah.
Once a
This-
quarter, I think.
This has been attempted by Gail before. I liked Sam stepping in.
I think a lot of people have had their fill of Sam doing things like that.
Right. And his voice was very whispery this week, like he had a sore throat or something. I don't know. Either that or, he was the understudy for Bradley Cooper and Maestro. But
Yes, that must be what it is.
And he
Because
had,
it sounded like Leonard Bernstein came from Wigan.
can you imagine? Ah. And his shirt, I could have sworn his shirt was like going to be like Japanese, like a Godzilla or something, because all you saw was like the red sun.
Right.
Until he stood up, and that was kind of disappointing because it just said, "I like to go on vacation" or something.
It was
Or
lame, whatever it was.
Sunshine, sunshine. It was like, oh man, I thought that shirt was going to be cooler.
Right.
And I kind of liked how he and Lily kind of stood up to everybody and were joined forces on, oh God, our adults are so terrible.
Yeah, and I thought the point that he made that I really liked was, look, Lily made the suggestion because it allows her to contribute.
Right.
So you all taking the piss out of it
Right.
means that you're taking the piss out of her.
Right.
And that isn't cool.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely right
He
about
was
that.
absolutely right. Like, I couldn't believe some of the stuff David was saying while sitting right across from his daughter.
Right.
It's like, fucking hell, David. You're beating out Tyrone for worst parent of the street at the moment.
There was that. I don't think it was deliberate, and I think I might have imagined it, but there was that moment where Sam stands up and says, I've lost my mum.
Right.
And it cuts to Max and Lily going, so? But
Like he
it also cut to
joined the
David,
club.
and David was doing kind of eagle-eyed action man as he was trying to find something to look at that wasn't Sam.
Right. And also kind of looking around like, we know this. What is this?
Where's he going with this?
Right. And then he goes somewhere. But it is hilarious that all three of those children's mother is dead.
I tell you, there's nothing worse to be in fiction than a mother.
That's true. That's very true. I've been saying it for years.
I think we all saw this coming with Audrey deciding that she wasn't going to retire after all, right?
Right,
What's
yeah.
Audrey going to do if she retires?
Right. And I mean, and she decided she's going to do exactly what we said she should do. Sit behind the counter and schedule appointments.
And suckle up all the profits, yeah.
Well, Not all of them.
Well, she's basically getting paid for other people's work, which is what a boss does,
Right.
or what an owner does.
Right. But she would have been getting their chair rentals anyway. So it doesn't really change much. I don't know what she was paying them for being management.
Who would you have
Briefly.
picked out of those two?
Audrey.
Oh, really? I think I'd have given Maria the job. Maria had at least a vision of what she wanted to do with it, and it did make sense. I think the reason that Audrey didn't give it to Maria was because she didn't understand the newfangled techniques, which she'd already complained about in a
Right.
earlier episode.
Yeah. I think
When
Maria
Kirk wanted a fade.
I think Maria has a lot on her plate already because she's also on the council and
Which
stuff.
doesn't seem to take up an awful lot of her time.
Yeah, we barely get to see. We haven't seen a council meeting since the P guy was on the show,
Right.
and then we got rid of the P guy. So I guess there's no point in showing council meetings anymore,
Right.
which is fine because council meetings tend to be very, very boring
Absolutely.
in real life.
So you think she did the right thing then by
Yeah.
going back? Yeah, she probably did.
Because it gives her something to do. And David was never going to accept Maria as management. They were going to be sniping at one another.
Right, and then David would just make Maria's life hell.
Right. Yeah. So this way, there's like a barrier between them
Right.
and someone for them to both hate.
Yes. All right, moving on. Our next storyline is, do you want to bet? On
No.
Monday at home, Ed is secretly checking his Wonga loan. It was 500, now it's nearly 600. It's gone up so quickly. That's the whole point of payday loans. Meanwhile, Sarge wants to chip in on the Christmas shopping costs, but Ed refuses as he's a guest. Michael, though, forces him to accept 50 quid from him. Seemingly, Aggie has been pestering him to get a big fuck-off turkey for Christmas. So Ed rushes...
Even though she's not going to be there.
Yeah, so Ed rushes off to work, supposedly. And at the builder's yard, he's on the phone looking for the best odds on some nag. Sarge comes along and is now insisting that he put something into the Christmas pot. He's wasted too many Christmases in the past, so wants to start making up for that now, and he gives Ed 75 quid and makes him take it. This may be his last Christmas after all. So later, Ed listens to a race on the radio, and it's clear that he's not picked a winner with his presumably 125 quid.
Yikes.
He gets home and pretends that he ordered the turkey and has some money left over to buy Aggie something nice, and then rushes upstairs for a lie down or to shite his pants. On Wednesday, Sarge, Ronnie and Michael are talking about Christmas preparations. Ed finishes up a call with Aggie as he comes down the stairs. She definitely won't be back for Christmas, so Ed wants to keep it low key, but Michael and Sarge want to make it an amazing day for Glory, and absolutely they should.
Yes, because this is the first Christmas where she knows what's going on.
Yeah. So the house is quieter later and Ed is fretting about the money when Sarge puts some pressure on Ed to get the money that Ed had promised him for his food truck business. Ed says it's going to take a minute to move some money around, which Sarge finds suspicious. And Ronnie, when he catches wind of this at the builder's yard, he thinks Ed is just winding his dad up and that he should cough up the money for Sarge now. And then the pile-on continues when Ed gets a call from Tony, who still hasn't been fucking paid.
Seriously,
And
and
rather-
it's like a couple days before Christmas.
Right. And rather than answer the call, Ed dingies it. He does get an idea, though, and he calls a client called John. All right, John?
All right, done.
John!
Done.
John!
Done.
To beg for some work, but it's a non-starter. Paul passes by the builder's yard on his way to do some Christmas shopping, and Paul thanks Ed for his patience with his payment for the work that Ed did in the bathroom, but not like that, and announces that Billy dropped payment off at Ed's house earlier. Ed comes in his pants a wee bit and rushes home. But back home, Sarge has already got his mitts on the money Billy dropped off, and he's mistaken it for the money Ed promised to give him. Ed is gutted, but lets his dad believe that this was intended all the way. Sarge is thrilled and promises to repay whenever he can. So Ed is moping at Nina's rolls. Evelyn tells him to order something or fuck off. Ronnie comes in to check that he's okay, seeing as he fucked off from work earlier. He thinks a party might be just the ticket to celebrate their successes this year, and suggests an expensive do for the family at the Bistro.
Yeah, that's not a party.
No, and the party is just them sitting in the same booth
Right.
at the Bistro that they always sit at.
That's not a party.
But there's no Dee Dee. And if there's no Dee Dee,
There's no party.
there's no party.
And there's no Debbie.
Oh, there's definitely no party then.
Yeah. You're forgetting the The double D's.
Ronnie has cash from the business, so the drinks are on them. So David orders a spearmint splash. And later, they're all a bit
What is
gassed.
in a spearmint splash?
Who knows? Later, they're all a bit gassed. Ronnie is happy to see Ed happy. Ed goes off for a shite, but he's intercepted by Tony, who has turned up and has lost his patience. He's been watching Ed lording it up and buying drinks for the entire pub, and he thinks Ed has been taking him for a mug. He demands his money tomorrow, or there'll be bother. Ed suddenly doesn't need that shite anymore. And that's as far as we get with that.
Yeah. Good job, Tony. Well done.
Oh, finally. And they're trying to make out that Tony's a bit threatening. Well, he is threatening.
Right. But he's threatening for a reason.
Yeah, but he has that kind of baddie look about him. But he's not a baddie.
No.
He's a man who's owed money.
Right. And owes
deserves
his
it.
children a Christmas with this money. I don't like that they've taken this character who is grateful to Ed because he'd just gotten out of prison for some reason and, and needed the work. And now they're like, oh no, look, it's a baddie. He's so bad. Threatening Ed. Ed is the baddie.
Yeah.
He owes that man money.
I'm so confused though, and I guess this is maybe the whole point of the addiction that Ed has. He went to a meeting. He's talked to people about his problem. He's admitted his problem.
And then he just goes back to doing it.
Yeah, it's like...
Nothing's changing.
Right.
And it should have changed when he went back to that meeting. And he should have been going to meetings all along. But it feels like he had all of the best intentions, but then he needed the money. So, like, his brain's like, the best way to get money quick is to bet, which is not true.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's just in the spiral of chasing his losses. But when you think of who
Right.
he owes money to and how much, I mean, at least Sarge has been paid off for now, so that's one thing he doesn't have to worry about. But he's got the 125 quid for Christmas that has presumably been lost on the
Horses.
bet.
Yeah.
There's did they get Glory the Wendy house?
I thought he did, but now
not
I'm
sure.
confused.
So Christmas is kind of in peril
Right.
here. Does he owe money to Ronnie?
No.
Okay, so he doesn't owe money there, but it's kind of just spiraling out of control.
Right.
He's taken money from a few people. He's lost it.
Right.
So where is he going to get?
Money for turkey.
Right. At the very least, where is that going to come from?
At
And I
least-
don't think he's got anybody any Christmas presents yet.
At least, once he gets the money for turkey, he'll get the chicks for free.
That's so bad.
Almost as bad as the song itself, which is a terrible song.
Well, it's a terrible song now.
It was a terrible song
It was a great
then.
song at the time.
The music video was great, and Sting is great, but the song,
The guitar hook's fantastic as well.
the Mama's Got It Shaking in the Camera, that was not good. None of that was good. Even then, it was not good. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like as I try and get the smell of that joke out my nostrils, as we get closer to Christmas, I feel like his house of cards
Is about ready to fall.
Because he can't keep on juggling this.
No.
And Tony is the most volatile part of this whole thing.
Right.
If the Billy money and the Paul money was to go anywhere,
It
probably
should have gone to Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but of course, Billy would just irresponsibly just drop a wad of cash on the kitchen table.
Yeah, under the table. Is it under the table? You're paying in cash.
Yeah, why is this
there
not a check?
here? This is nobody pays with checks
Or
anymore.
but they don't pay in cash either.
No.
All of this could have been solved with Venmo.
There we go. All right, our penultimate storyline tonight is Evelyn's gift. On Wednesday, Evelyn arrives at Tyrone's. She's drawn a blank on the puppy farm thing from last week, thank goodness. Tyrone wants peace and quiet as he's off to Norwich with the girls to celebrate Christmas with Fizz.
Yay!
Evelyn is looking forward to her
And-
present for Roy, which she's got him. She thinks that he's going to love it.
And to heal his ACL.
Cassie has nothing planned, so Evelyn is gutted into inviting her along with her and Roy, and Cassie jumps at the offer, to Evelyn's disappointment. Evelyn is in Nina's Rolls talking about Christmas plans when Roy's back seems to seize up, so Evelyn sends him upstairs and Debbie helps out.
Right. And Debbie, first person ever on the street to do this, comments about how cute they are together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Evelyn does
Finally.
not like this.
Finally somebody notices.
So, at Nina's Rolls later, Cassie is singing the praises of South African puddings. Roy comes downstairs, so Evelyn orders Cassie to help him back up. Cassie mentions that Evelyn has Roy a very special gift and suggests that he does likewise, and she does this on the quiet.
Right.
So, a little whisper in Roy's ear, by the way, you might want to know that Evelyn's getting you something fancy here, so you might want to get something.
Of course, she doesn't know what it is.
No, she has no idea.
I mean, if it's train related, he's going to love it.
At Tyrone's, it's Wednesday, and that means book chat. Hope likes Roald Dahl because of all the racism. Evelyn is more a Winifred Holtby kind of gal and reminisces about a special edition she had as a girl, and as Cassie hears this, the story becomes that bit from Friends where Chandler buys a copy of The Velveteen Rabbit for Joey to give to Kathy.
This whole conversation is kind of hilarious because, like, Hope is explaining a scene in a Roald Dahl book.
Yep.
Oh, which one is it? The one with the lamb chop over the head? Or the leg of lamb over the head?
Lamb to the Slaughter. It's a short story.
Oh, so she's reading. Wow, Hope is reading Roald Dahl's short stories, which are predominantly for adults. Well, never mind. That's not one of the ones that Wes Anderson just did a short movie on. But, you know, Evelyn is talking about Roald Dahl like he's like a newfangled. Oh, you teenagers with your newfangled authors. We didn't have any of that in my day. And it's like, Evelyn.
Roald Dahl was...
Roald Dahl.
I mean, that story that was referenced was 1953,
Right.
I think.
Roald Dahl has been dead longer than Tyrone's been alive, which is not technically true, but it feels that way. So that was kind of weird. It was like, of all of like the new YA authors that they could have referenced, you know, especially ones that have like murder and stuff.
Or are still alive.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Lemony Snicket, Suzanne Collins, J.K. Rowling.
No.
You know. It
Who was
just
that guy
weird.
that wrote The Paper Towns? I quite like that book.
Oh, God. What is his name? Because he wrote The Fault in Our Stars as well.
Yes.
Green. Green is his last name. John Green.
I think it is John Green. John Green. Yeah, you're right.
Ah, look at that. Smarter than I think.
That's some impressive YA knowledge there.
Thank you very much. Especially.
Yes, so read something like that.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I quite like the 13 Reasons Why book. But maybe not a book for Hope to be reading.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt funny for Evelyn to say that about Roald Dahl, one way or the other. I mean...
Yeah, and seemed to have never heard of him.
Right, yeah.
Really?
Maybe it was because of the deep dive to... I know, isn't he like a national treasure still?
Yes.
Even with all the
Wonka.
anti-Semitism?
The Wonka.
Right, the Wonka. The Wonka.
Everyone knows Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
Tyrone, meanwhile, doesn't know what a book is. Cassie says that she's changed her mind because she's had a little think all of a sudden and will let Evelyn and Roy enjoy their Christmas without her.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie quickly goes to Roy's to tell him about the book and thinks that would be the perfect gift for Evelyn. Where am I meant to get that in 5 days? That's your problem, Chief, says Cassie. She says it'll just be Roy and Evelyn for Christmas now as she's bailing out, to which Roy announces that Mary will be there too.
Oh, boo.
Thruple?
No. God,
And that's as far as we get with that
Mary
so far
is,
this week.
Mary is going to piss the tits out of Evelyn.
Yes.
That's not a good combination at all. And why isn't Mary spending Christmas with Dev? and the kids.
Or Brian.
Or Brian. Yeah, they're supposed to be. Remember when they were like
Oh,
going to be
just
a
a little
couple?
finger touches and...
Right, yeah. And then the show seemed to forget about that. It's like, oh, no. That's enough for Mary. She doesn't get to have a romantic storyline. No romance for you, Mary. You're just here to be funny. Mm-hmm. And be in love with your blanket or whatever.
And Ben Shepherd, yeah.
Yeah, her Ben Shepherd blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a bookshop nearby. Of course, it's like a limited edition.
Well, he's in a charity shop all the time. It's going to turn up in the charity shop, I imagine.
Not in the next 2 days, though.
In the next 2 days. Your suspension of disbelief is going to be put to the test when in the next 2 days that book turns up.
Right.
In fact, it needs to turn up on Friday because Christmas is Monday.
I thought it was very interesting, too, because apparently it was her husband who threw it away.
Yep.
Like after a tiff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is very interesting because we've never heard that her husband was anything but good as gold. And it was all Cassie's fault that he died. That she put the strain on him and everything.
I thought he was a rotter. I had that in my mind. I can't think why, but I thought he was a rotter.
Why would Evelyn care to blame Cassie for his death if he was a rotter?
To make Cassie feel bad?
Who knows? Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting detail because it reminded me of that time that Eli threw away like the whole contents of a trunk of mine because to him it was just like paper and garbage, and it was like all of the things I had written.
Oh, really? Oh,
up until that point in my life. Old diaries and stuff and books and certificates and awards.
Yeah, my mum threw out my Gavin can swim 25 metres breaststroke certificate, and now I don't know how I can prove to people that I can do that.
Well, jump in a pool every once in a while.
Yeah, but seriously,
there
must be an easier way to do that.
I'm
right?
never getting those stories back.
No.
And I was at work, and the dumpster had been emptied by the time I got home.
Oh, boo, that's a sad story.
It is a sad story. Fucking sucks. But anyway.
Keeping it light.
Keeping it light.
Let's move on to our final storyline.
I've moved on to better husbands.
Well, let's hope so.
At least one. That'd be you.
Oh, phew. Our final storyline, the code to the Rovers. Oh, yikes. On Monday, Jenny and Daisy are chatting about the journal and the possibility that it holds some clues to Stephen's password for his account and for the secret file that's in the laptop. Mm-hmm. Jenny and Carla intend to ask Audrey for a peek at it. So Audrey meets up with Jenny and Carla, but she has no intention of showing them the journal. She says it's far too private. Carla loses her rag at this, accuses Stephen of killing folk and stealing all of Underworld's money. Best Audrey is going to do is look through the journal for clues for them, but it'll have to wait as it's currently with Gail. So Carla and Jenny are joined by Daisy. Carla isn't impressed, but Jenny explains that short of stealing that journal from Gail's house, they're shit out of luck. Carla leaves and Daisy makes an attempt to insist that Jenny is due some compo here. Jenny disagrees. The factory's on its knees, and she asks Daisy to drop them.
And the beef.
They need to move on. Daisy...
You lost your rhyme there.
I know. I didn't realise there was a rhyme there until I read it out. Daisy bumps into Daniel. He's an asshole to her. He winds her up about Ryan leaving for Glasgow tomorrow and reckons that he dodged a bullet. He reckons that she'll wait for the next sap to come along. She says that she doesn't need him, Ryan, or anyone, and will be buying the Rovers without his money. I don't know why she says that to him. She says that he'll believe it when he sees it. Daisy shows up at the Bistro where the Platts are having their family summit in another storyline, and she does some top-class snooping to discover that number 8 is currently empty. And on her way out, she lifts the keys out of David's pocket that's hanging up on the coat stand.
And we know it's David's pocket because it's a jean jacket.
It's a denim jacket, yes. So Daisy uses the key, lets herself into number 8, and starts looking for the journal in all the obvious places. The kitchen, inside the washing machine, the sinkhole, but no luck.
When she opens the utensil drawer, I'm like, really?
Right.
Really?
Is it on the coffee table? No. Then it's not in the house. Pretty much. Daisy is about to leave when Audrey comes home, and this forces Daisy to do a max and run up the stairs. She watches Audrey search for the journal and find it and put it in her tote bag and leave.
It was behind a cushion on the couch, which is an obvious place to look.
Right.
Unlike the utensil drawer.
This allows Daisy to drop off David's keys and leave through the back door, but she's eventually seen by Jenny as she comes round the gunnel. Daisy admits that she was looking for the journal. She was wanting to do something good for a change, but Jenny is not happy. That money is Underworld's, she insists. And later, Audrey meets Daisy at Maxine's bench, and these people chat for the first time as Audrey explains that she's gone to the charity shop with Stephen's clothes and dumped his journal in the garbage in the tote bag. This is her moving on. Rightio then, cheerio, says Audrey, and Daisy eyes up having a fucking great old rake through that garbage. Back at Rita's, Jenny's still in the mood with Daisy, but agrees to give her a loan of Stephen's laptop. She goes off for a bath, and while white hat hacker Daisy sets to sussing out that password, her first 15 guesses, which include things like home, Canada, the Rovers, Toronto, happy place,
Calgary,
all,
which he's not even from.
all draw a blank. Thankfully, this laptop allows 17 guesses, and thanks to a postcard that's stuffed in the back pages of the journal, she cracks it. Tofino.
Yeah, but first, before trying Tofino, the big obvious thing on the postcard, she uses a magnifying glass to look at the sign on the cottage behind, and it says Seaside Cottage.
Seagull Cottage.
Seagull Cottage.
This is why it's the Seagulls
Right.
investment thing.
And instead of trying seagull, she tries cottage.
She tries cottage.
She tries cottage, people. She tries cottage.
Why does
She
she-
only has 2 choices left. 2 tries left.
Yep.
And one of them's cottage.
Because she's already tried home. Because this account would be, or this file would be protected with a 4-letter word.
Right.
So it's Tofino. And not only that, the file is a link to an account, and it's the same password to access the account, and in it she finds the 250 grand that Stephen stole from the factory. Ya fucking beauty, she says. Yas, queen.
Yeah. But she has to put
Now-
Tofino in twice. That was hilarious.
Yeah, because it's once to get into the file and then once to get into the account.
Right. Yeah.
So-
So he uses the same password
Yes.
twice instead of, I don't know, using something else for the second one.
I need a thumbprint or my face
Right.
to get into my Starbucks app. But apparently all you need to get into this £250,000 account is a 7-letter word.
And the police were
no multi-factor authentication here, by the way.
And the police were unable to crack this.
And I know she has to crack it because there isn't a story if she can't crack
Right.
it. And I know it isn't when he was setting up the password for this account, Google suggested a 16-character long series of random letters and symbols that she would never crack. I know that she has to crack it.
Right.
But it's the fact that we get to see the first 15 guesses that she's made
Right.
that are so hilariously dreadful.
And then cottage.
And then cottage.
Right. Because she's like, it can't be this obvious big word right here. I'm going to use a magnifying glass, which I know Rita has in this drawer right over here. Because
Yeah.
she goes right to it.
Yeah, presumably she's already checked the utility drawer for the magnifying glass.
Yeah.
But
And also the utensil drawer.
utensil drawer, yeah. Just
Both drawers.
so stupid.
So many drawers.
Anyway, on Wednesday, Daisy's looking at the account information the next day and the estate agent page for the Rovers on separate tabs. Jenny comes in and complains about the mess in the room, and Daisy's about to show Jenny what she's found when Rita comes in and Daisy becomes cagey. Later, Jenny and Carla bump into each other and watch a couple viewing the Rovers. Carla explains that this deal might save Underworld that's going on. Carla has an important meeting.
Right.
Jenny would like to borrow some money from Carla if it all goes well, but Carla tells Jenny to suck her balls, and so begins a massive row that goes to Johnny's inheritance, the factory, Aidan, and Stephen, whose actions put Carla in this mess in the first place.
Right. And then also Daisy being a slag.
Yeah, Daisy catches the end of this, sticks up for Jenny, and Carla looks for a scrap about all this. Then Roy comes out, throws a bucket of water over them all, and they scatter.
Right.
Back at Rita's, Jenny
With
and
mice
Carla
in their teeth.
have calmed down until Jenny notices that the flat is still a mess. Jenny starts to tidy up and finds Stephen's journal and demands an explanation. So Daisy explains how she got it, which calms Jenny slightly, but she still insists the money is Carla's. Jenny leaves for lunch with Rita as Daisy starts to move Stephen's money into her account, starting with 50 quid.
Now, this storyline only works if they both constantly say to one another that the money is Carla's. The money's not Carla's. The money belongs to the factory. That money is meant to pay the workers who have been, like Tony,
Yep.
underpaid forever and should be paid in full right before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
If they thought about it in those terms, this storyline can't happen.
Yeah, because they're doing this for the community. But to do this, they're stealing money from the community.
Right. And if it's Carla, well, then they can have this manufactured row, and that puts their dander up, and, and it's okay to steal from Carla.
Yeah.
But if it's accurate and we say it's the factory's money and it's going to pay, Izzy and Sally and Beth, well, maybe not so much Beth, Kirk,
Right.
and other people and the silent people in the background of the factory.
All the knicker people.
Right. Then it's like, well, no, Daisy, what you're suggesting is really, really reprehensible.
Yeah. Yes.
You were stealing from poor people.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're the anti-Robin Hood here.
Right. Yes. You are
And also let's remember that the workers own the means of production.
correct.
Sarah is prepping for the meeting at the bistro when Daisy comes in for a bottle of champers, and her card, freshly replenished with 50 quid, goes through. Belter. It works.
Right. And it was ridiculous because Nick's like, oh, look, it went, okay, you're all set. It went through.
What a strange thing to say.
What a strange thing to say to a person.
You say, thank you, because you expect it to go through.
Right. Yeah.
Back at Rita's, Daisy has another go at telling Jenny her news and gives her some champers. She says that she cracked the password and suggests that they keep every penny of Stephen's money. Jenny thinks this is madness, but Daisy says Carla has already written off the money and Jenny deserves the compo.
She hasn't written off the money. She and Jenny just went to Audrey to beg for this journal so that they could get the money. When did Carla ever write off the money? And also, she can't write off the money because the insurance won't pay because it was negligence.
Well, she's written it off in her head that she doesn't expect to get it back anymore. That's what that means.
Yeah, but that's not true because we saw her with Audrey trying to get the thing.
Yeah, now that she can't do that, she's given up.
I don't think that's true.
Well,
Anyway.
Jenny and Daisy, who don't work at the factory, turn up at the factory. Jenny needs to see Carla, but Sarah explains that Carla's out and they're celebrating a successful meeting and a mahoosive order. Daisy thinks that this means that they should leave and let her enjoy her good news. Jenny asks that Carla gets in touch when she can. Back at Rita's, Daisy thinks this is the universe telling Jenny to wise up. Jenny still thinks it's theft because it is. Daisy says that they can pay Carla back over time.
What? How do you pay someone back who doesn't know that you stole their money?
Well, when you've got the money to give them, you say, by the way, I stole this money from you. Here you go. Here it's back.
Yeah. By the way, I stole all this money, even though it's way more than it will cost to buy the Rovers. What are they going to do with... Because that's far too much money to buy the Rovers.
250,000?
Wasn't it like 250 million?
No, £250 million.
Yes.
No,
Because it was all the money that the factory had.
it was
I would
$250,000.
I would hope that the factory has more than 250,000.
No, that was it. It was 250,000.
That's
the
ridiculous.
idea that factory is sitting on £250 million.
They have so many people to pay.
It's not Apple.
Yes, it is. It's the apple of the street.
Then we'd call them the Apple people, and we don't. And there's no way that Beth's sitting there making iPads. So, Jenny thinks this isn't Daisy. Daisy says, this is me.
And then she
the
says,
fiance to Daniel, that wasn't me. And she says, this is you too, Jenny. TikTok, it's by the Rovers o'clock.
right, yeah.
Later, Rita is worried that Jenny and Daisy have fallen out. They get talking, and Rita says that Daisy reminds her of Jenny. Whoever buys that pub will have big shoes to fill, says Rita. Oh, this conversation is with Jenny. Carla arrives just as Rita leaves, wanting to know what was so fucking important. And Jenny thinks, and then she just apologises for what she said earlier. Carla tells her to forget it. They talk about the big deal that's gone through, and Carla reckons that in a few months they'll be back to where they were before Stephen came along.
Right, well after Christmas, and these people need to be paid now and not in a couple of months.
And Jenny says, I'm still your evil, twisted stepmother. And Carla says, yeah, you're not really my stepmother anymore. You're just a mate.
Right.
And this seems to sting Jenny somewhat.
As it should.
Yes.
But not enough.
But then Carla says that if she had the money, she'd have lent it to Jenny in a shot. Yikes, says Jenny. And back at Rita's, Jenny is drinking the champagne straight from the bottle in an introspective kind of mood, or so it seems. She tells Daisy that she didn't tell Carla about the money and declares herself in. Let's buy the fucking pub. Daisy is thrilled, but wants her name as co-owner, and privately they'll be equals. Jenny wants to pay Carla back as soon as they can. Conditions agreed upon. It's time to seal the deal with a squeal. And that's how we end this week's episodes.
And that is terrible. Terrible. This can't happen.
Well, it's going to happen.
Well, it can't happen.
Well, it's going to.
It can't happen because then every time there's a scene in the Rovers, people are going to remember that Jenny stole money from the people of the street, from the Knicker people, to buy this pub back. This pub that, let's all remember, wasn't making money anymore, and that's why she sold it in the first place.
Yeah, it's an absolute money pit. And I don't know why they're so desperate to buy it. I also don't know why the show... I do know. Let's pretend for a second that I don't. Why the show is so desperate to have the Rovers reopen, because you know what? I haven't missed it. I think the Bistro is working perfectly well.
Really? Because
as the
I
place
feel
that people go for a drink.
I
think it is.
I feel it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird
I've got used to it.
to have so many scenes in the Bistro.
I feel like I've got used to it.
It's weird to have so many people, although apparently this week nobody's going out to eat at all anywhere. We don't really see.
It's weird because the Bistro will close for Christmas.
Right, so that they can feed themselves.
But they're doing their private party, whereas
Right.
in real life they probably would be open on Christmas Day for people who don't want to cook and stuff like that.
Right, yeah. Speed Doll's going to be open though.
But yeah, I just think that it's a better space that you can fit more people in.
Absolutely.
And the Rovers is so old and cramped.
And dark and tired.
And yet it feels so very empty when it's quiet.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I was kind of made my peace almost, despite knowing that this was only a matter of time before this happened. But wouldn't it have been a brave move just to say fuck it and that's the Rovers gone?
Right. Yeah, because now it kind of negates the impact of it closing. There was all this
Well, it means that they were
sadness
right.
and apologizing to pictures and stuff. It would have been interesting if it had reopened as like some gastropub sort of thing with a TV on the wall and stuff, and new owners and bartenders with flair on them sort of thing. That would have been interesting. I would have liked that because it would have been different. It would have been updated. Because they have updated the place before.
Yeah, it's very different to how it was at the start and how it was in the 70s and 80s.
Right. So
And yeah, it's been a shifting, if constant, presence in the show. But yeah, I just think that maybe this was a chance to do something different. But
I mean, they're
it
going to
doesn't look like it's going to, or maybe they will revamp it when they open it up. But yeah, the fact remains that this place was not making money.
Yeah.
And having the same person on board probably isn't going to do much to change that.
No.
Daniel was never going to be the savior
God,
to
no.
the whole thing, but
Daisy's not going to be either because, like, currently she's a pariah on the street because cheating only hurts the women.
and for the eye candy aspect of it, well, that wasn't bringing in business beforehand, so
No.
why is it going to? I mean, there'll be an uptick when it opens because of course it will.
But I mean, it does feel like everybody's kind of used to the bistro now.
Can I be pedantic again?
Or drinking at home, going to Dev's and getting a bottle.
Well, it reflects society a bit better that people are drinking less, more people are stopping drinking,
Right.
Young people are drinking less.
Or they drink at home because they can't, because the laws are so strict as far as drunk driving is concerned, they should be.
And cost of living crises as
Right,
well. So,
yes.
So the fact that a pub closes down is not that shocking.
Right.
The fact that a pub that was about to close down reopens is probably the shocking aspect of it.
Right, yeah. And they're like, oh, well, we need this for the community. The community is doing fine
Without it. Right.
without it.
The only thing that they're concerned about is it's an eyesore when it's all boarded up.
Right.
But nobody's saying, oh, isn't it a shame that we couldn't get back in the Rovers?
No.
And I don't understand why Daisy wants to own the place of her acid attack anyway.
Right, yeah. There's that, too. I want to co-own the place where the most horrific thing ever to happen to me happened to me.
If I can be pedantic just a little bit again.
And there are bad memories for Jenny, too.
I don't know how easy or undetectable it is to move £250,000 from an offshore account into your account.
Right.
Because here, if you transfer 10 grand or more, you've got to fill out money laundering
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
So moving £250,000 in one go, I imagine is going to set some dodgy transaction flags a-fluttering.
Yeah. Especially since it's so close to the amount stolen by Stephen. Because, like, the cops are focusing more on the murder part. Yes. But if something like that happens...
And the bank goes to the police about it.
Right. Yeah. They're going... And also, people are going to be questioning where they got the money from to do this.
Well, she says it's just going to be a bank loan, is what she's going to tell people.
Right. But there's a lot of steps to buying a property, as you know. You've done it a few times in your life.
I've done it on multiple continents.
Yes. Yes. That's just the kind of man you are.
Right. And by multiple, I mean 2.
That's multiple.
That's what I
fine.
think.
And, you know, there are hoops you have to go through to prove that you have the money to buy a place.
Well, in this instance, you show them your bank statement.
Right. But...
Because they're not having to go for a mortgage.
Right. But, you know, it'll be like, what is your employment status and all this other stuff? It's not easy to buy a property.
Well, if you're going for a loan, but remember, they're not going for a loan.
Yeah.
They're going to pay in cash for and then none of those questions are asked because they're paid in full.
I just feel like they're going to be found out rather quickly.
It feels like they should be found out. Whether they will be found out,
Especially,
I don't know. But it feels like they should be.
Right. Especially since, again, it's Christmas time and the knicker people haven't been paid.
Well, they were
full
paid.
Yet. They were paid, but they weren't paid all they were owed.
Yeah, there's some back pay I think they're still
Right.
due. And probably some overtime that they're still due.
Yeah. And you really don't want the audience's mind to be reminded of this really awful thing that a beloved character has done every time there's a scene in the Rovers.
Well,
I feel like people are, I know I am really disappointed in Jenny, but a quick look at Instagram before we started recording, lots of people are disappointed in Jenny and not happy about this. And they're like, Daisy, we can understand. Daisy, this is believable, but we're really disappointed in Jenny, and this doesn't feel like something Jenny would do. And I don't know if I really like this character anymore, and I used to really like her.
Well, is this even believable for Daisy? They've spent so long trying to rehabilitate her character.
Right.
Albeit not rehabilitating the bit that everyone has the biggest problem about, where she sexually assaulted Ryan.
Right, yeah.
But,
and then the show forgot about that, and then they had consensual sex.
Which cancels that previous stuff out, obviously.
Well,
But I don't even know if it is Daisy anymore. Controversially, maybe, I kind of like this. I think this is interesting.
I don't think it's interesting at all. And I think it goes against character. And I think there's a much better way to buy the Rovers back, even though it's a failed business and we don't need it. Imagine if they didn't have to do the upkeep of the Rovers anymore. I mean, I know it's iconic and everybody who goes and tours the set has their picture taken in front of the Rovers.
Mm-hmm. And that's why they can't
So
get
I
rid of it.
get that. But, I don't know, make it something else.
It becomes a stone round your neck after a while, and that's how it feels to me. That
Like certain characters.
right, that the Rovers can't not be there because of the reasons that you've just said.
Yeah.
Because when
It's-
people think Coronation Street, they think the Rovers. But I really wish now that they'd just cut the cord and
Right.
got rid of
Or
it.
just let those people that initially bought it not pull out for some reason.
Yeah,
when
let-
they were so gung-ho about it.
Yeah, let them have it.
Let them have it. Let them do their whole gastropub thing. And that would be an interesting storyline. These people who are so set in their ways having to learn to re-love the Rovers.
I mean, what they could have had on their hands was Series 6 of Cheers,
Right.
where the big corporation buys a pub, and then the story is how the previous owner, in Cheers' case Sam,
Right.
gets his pub back.
Right.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. And they're trying to do that, but the thing that works in Cheers is that the corporation does come in and does change things.
For one episode.
Well, that's more than they're getting here.
And the changes that they're made to wear green uniforms.
Because it's Boston.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
It felt like it was an opportunity there. One that they're never going to take. But part of me is just curious as to what would have happened had they had the strength of resolve to go through with it.
Right.
But, oh well.
You could put another business in there too. You know, you could gut the place, keep the feel of the outside still the outside, and put in a different business. You know, like they were talking about a coffee shop, and while they're right across the street from like an actual coffee shop, it wouldn't be bad to have like or a place that has fancy non-alcoholic drinks, which I suppose they could still do. They do have the Heineken Zero, at least.
Yep.
But I don't know. It feels like far too many other beloved characters amongst the Knicker people will be hurt by this. And while the show wants people to forget and think that it's Carla's money, most people are not fooled. They're like, wait a second. This is the factory's money.
Yeah. I think they rely on people either not knowing that, not thinking about that, not caring about that, or forgetting about that.
Yeah, and they're wrong on all counts.
Well, we shall see. Well, that was the week that was Coronation Street. Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week?
Peter and Val.
Yeah, I loved that. I
Yeah,
really
me
loved
too.
that. Just the surprise of it and the way that it really pulled at my heartstrings,
Right.
and got me to think, and they acted it incredibly well as well.
Mm-hmm.
That is our
Moment of the week.
Another week.
your boring moment of the week.
Daniel being awful to Daisy, and Daisy, apropos of nothing, saying that she's going to buy the Rovers.
Do you know what Daisy needed to say there?
What?
Sex cardigan.
Yes.
That's all she had to say, and then walk
All
off.
she had to say.
Shut up, sex cardigan, and
Right.
just walk away.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Apparently, Nikki's coming back as well.
Oh, fuck off.
So Nikki, Bethany, and Daisy fighting over
Daniel?
Daniel.
Meanwhile, poor Damon's underpants are dry. Dry, I tell you. Yeah, Daniel and Daisy is our...
Boy moment of the week.
Yeah. Your score out of 10?
There was a lot to like.
I quite liked it this week, yeah. So far this week, we haven't touched Friday, obviously.
Right, yeah. I'm not a fan of Jenny going to the dark side.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. Don't like it. Don't like it one bit.
I think she'll be a good villain.
No. She's not allowed to be a villain. She was just a victim last month. Let's not. This is not the redemption arc she needs. And God, for them to just pour ice water over all of Daisy's good work in getting people to actually like the character and just destroy it in 2 weeks. It's kind of fucked up.
I'm giving it a 7.5 this week.
5.5.
Oh, well, I guess 5.5's not a bad score.
Yeah.
5's just straight down the middle, isn't it? So a little bit better than average.
Okay, how about 6?
6 sounds a bit more reasonable.
Yeah.
I think it was a good week.
It was a good week, except for that one storyline. And also Daniel.
So that is it up to Christmas for us.
Yes.
We will be back on Friday the 29th of December. Have a wonderful Christmas, everyone, if you celebrate.
Yes.
And be sure to check out on the 28th of December, it's the big quiz, Coronation Street versus Emmerdale.
Yes.
Just pay close attention to that.
Right, yeah.
Do me a favour. Just pay close attention to
Keep
that.
an eye on that.
This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast, Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT,
The good Daisy.
Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, and Christy. If you've ever enjoyed a hot tub with Peter, write in to tell us about it. We're the Talk of the Street at gmail.com and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. Check out the clicky section of boggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
Yay!
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. We'll be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
Talk of the Street. Happy holidays, everyone. Bye-bye.